everybody. So I'm going to be redundant. First of all, the Coffee Gallery, if you haven't been there, it is a jewel. And it's owned by the original founder of an incredible theater in Pasadena. And he's taken, 40 years from the Ice House and developed this area, which is incredible for artists. I'm with the Pasadena Symphony also, so music is very important. And so I live in Altadena, and I was just there actually Saturday to listen to an incredible group. So support her because you'll support yourself. Okay, so I'm a Pasadena local. I was born and raised in South Pasadena. I am a tiger, not a ram. I used to beat those guys. but this is a long time ago. And we actually did have face masks then. Okay? So anyway, I've been in the business of wine from running distribution companies like Young's Market Company to national import companies and building brands like Maison Joseph Drouin, Romani Conti, Beaulieu Vineyards, things like that. And I'm still doing it with Michero Family Wine Estates, with vineyards in Sonoma. Having said that, a good friend of mine who I had engaged in a discussion about a lawsuit, an attorney by the name of Michael Leb, called me one day and said, "Hey, I want to have lunch. Could you meet with me?" And I met with him and somebody by the name of Mark Boatwright. Mark Boatwright was the original founder of Choctál. And he was also the owner of Birdie's Cafe in Old Town, the second restaurant after Mi Piace in, I call it Old Town, Old Pasadena. And from that came a discussion on Choctál and kind of reinventing it and taking it to a place that it had not formerly been. And I jumped in with Michael Leb and his wife Nancy Leb, and we are the owners and the partner. Michael is CEO. Nancy Leb, all of the design that you see, the graphics, the artwork, the website, everything is Nancy Leb's creation along with her sister, because that is her background. So we do things pretty much in-house. We do have a PR company, of course, that helps us on the outside. Nancy is Chief Strategy Officer, and I am COO. We actually came to market 2 years, 11 months, and 9 days ago. We founded the company about 3.5 years ago and did R&D, looked at formulation of the product, the concept. We actually engaged a company that did a study to see if the concept had viability, and it came back and said, the tribes will love this. And so we launched the product at Fancy Food Show in 2013. Today we are in 10 states and we have about 400 accounts. We are not a scoop shop. We're not a retail operation. That paradigm is very, very different than being an ice cream producer and a marketer of food product. My background lent itself for distribution, sales, marketing, and operations. Mike's background, of course, led to overall strategy, the legalities, all the contractual things that have to happen in the business. But Mike's background, he was with Walmart in HR, in charge of that, and then Safeway picked him up, and he was at Safeway doing that, and then he was tapped on to do all the private label production in all of the facilities around the United States, which he did. So Mike is a foodie, and Nancy are foodies. They're great cooks, and that was the inspiration for the Lebs to get into this business, one of them. My inspiration, I'm not sure, because of the correlation in the concept. So, what makes Choctál different than every ice cream out there? There's two areas. The first area is the single origin concept. How many people in this room are wine consumers, drinking wine? Please raise your hand. Of this group, how many prefer white wine? How many prefer red wine? How many Don't care about white or red, but love it all. Okay. UC Davis, grad school, there's a class. It's called organoleptic evaluation. The concept of this is food science. And the basis of Choctál, because of lactose base, and the concept of grapes, Vitis vinifera or Vitis rotundia or Vitis whatever it is, have the same thing in common. That is that, according to UC Davis, that due to the metamorphological uniqueness of the area, geographical area, in correlation to the microclimatic uniqueness of that region or area, will have a definition in the potential flavor profiles of the grapes that are grown there. Guess what? This concept's been around for thousands of years. It applies to apples, oranges, legumes, all kinds of vegetables. But we don't think about that. When we think of a granny goose apple, we think it's tart and acidic. We don't think that it's got to grow above the 46th parallel to exist. Nor do we think that a golden delicious, with a sugar content about 20 times that in carbohydrate to a granny apple, is below that. And yet, that is the concept. So what we did is we found out that, guess what? This concept can apply to cacao, which comes from the cacao tree, and a pod and the seeds that create chocolate, and also can apply to vanilla beans. Believe it or not, and I know this is going to be a shock to everybody, cacao or chocolate does not come from Switzerland or Belgium. It does not. It grows within the 35th parallel, north and south, approximately, of the equator, and it's rainforest. So, kind of something really cool is that cacao and vanilla is something that has to do with sustainability. It's a positive thing for the earth because as plants, it's putting oxygen into the atmosphere and not depleting it by creating fuel. Having said that, Choctál's concept, single origin. What's that mean? We are not an ice cream company, per se. Choctál is a producer of single origin chocolate and vanilla products. We are specialists in chocolate and vanilla only. We don't make salted caramel ice cream. We don't make peanut butter crunch Oreo cookie ice cream. And we don't want to. What we want to be is the best chocolate product or vanilla product you can find in the marketplace. To accomplish that, the first concept, single origin. We do 4 chocolates. We do 4 vanillas. Okay. If Michero Family Wine Estates does 4 Cabernets or does 4 Chardonnays, and if that Cabernet, one Cabernet comes from Stag's Leap, and another Cabernet, you go about 1.5 miles to the northeast, Rutherford, and then we go to the east, and we go to Calistoga, and then we go up to Mount St. Helena. I use the very same varietal. I use the very same technique viticulturally. I use the very same technique in the enological fermentation. I do the same aging in the same barrels. I do the same bottling, basically, in the time period. Guess what? They all 4 taste different. Same thing's true for cacao and vanilla. So we have 4 chocolates. Ghana, West Africa. And there's an order of tasting here. This is a chocolate flight. Ghana, West Africa. Kalimantan from Borneo. Very exotic, unique. We're the only importer, by the way, of that cacao. And then we go to South America with Costa Rica and Dominica. As you taste these products in order, and there's a way to do it. This is the reason we don't have ice cream, because your founder said there's no way we can do this. Okay? I would like to come back and just do that with you guys. It'd be kind of fun. It's an organoleptic evaluation. It's what you do in a lab in food science if you're Kraft or Nestle or Choctál or UC Davis. So when you taste these, you will taste a different flavor profile. Vanilla, same thing. Indonesian vanilla, Papua New Guinea, the Tahitian clone for Papua New Guinea. Bourbon, Madagascar, the most pungent, pure, orchid vanilla you're going to find on the face of the earth. It's also the most expensive. And Mexican vanilla. Guess what? Indonesia has an almond little aftertaste. You pick up an almond in nuttiness. When you do the Tahitian clone for Papua New Guinea, it becomes cherry. When you go to the Madagascar, it's just identified as vanilla. And when you go to Mexico, it finishes with coconut. The proportion of the ingredients in all the chocolates are identical. The same amount of natural, unrefined sugar, milk, water, a little salt. There are 7 ingredients only. 6 of the components are identical. And the proportion of every component is identical. The 7th component is the cacao. Same proportion of cacao. Guess what happens? Therefore, the identifiable differentiation between them. Like the 4 Cabernets I talked about. Or the 4 Chardonnays that you want to make. The concept does not exist in ice cream. It doesn't exist in other mediums with the exception. How about coffee? I'd say apples. Right? But we don't think about that. So what are we doing? We are innovative and creators of a concept applied to a medium of food that doesn't exist. Think about how many people were drinking wine, 30, 40 years ago. Okay? When you go to your wine shop, whether it was Clokey's or Jurgensen's or whatever it was, you walk into that wine shop, how did they lay out the branding of the wines? Robert Mondavi with 7 or 8 or 10 varietals. Charles Krug, Louis Martini, Heights, blah, 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 blah. Around 1983-84, a phenomenon occurred in the wine business where all of a sudden small boutique wineries came about. Bank of America came out. The agricultural loaning department said wine consumption in America is going to go from 1.3 gallons per capita to 6 gallons per capita. It's going to happen in 10 years. All these people jumped into the wine business. But, $1 million, $5 million, $20 million buys you what? All of a sudden you have producers doing 5,000 cases, 10,000 cases small, as opposed to a Mondavi or Krug. And what happened to the shelves? Boom. The other thing that happened is not branding. Go into Vons. Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, Viognier, Cabernet, Zinfandel, by varietal. When we walk into the frozen food section and go to the ice cream section, how's the branding? McConnell's, Choctál, Haagen-Dazs, Ben & Jerry's. It's not done by type. Okay, and that's the food industry. And when I said the paradigm of Choctál relative to the dogma of the food industry, we're trying to promote and brand our product in a medium that doesn't understand it per se. So that means we have to market it. We have to have tools that explain what we're doing. This is our website. You can see scoop globally, taste locally. Okay. So as we get into this, we talk about Choctál, what it is. Okay, Choctál is a derivation of Mayan and Aztec because those cultures created, in this case, chocolate. And the conquistadors came and took over those cultures and called it chocolate. So it's an homage, it's a fictitious name, an homage to the culture that created chocolate. Kind of makes sense. You have to have a storyline. It has to be real. That's what it is. That's cacao. That you see on the left, these are vanilla beans. There is a symbiotic relationship biologically between them. One's a vine, one's a tree. Vine wraps itself around the tree on the top part, creates canopy, also feeds off of the Precambrian. There's a symbiotic relationship. Been around for thousands of years. We didn't create that. Okay, so we take advantage of that. The team, this is an old picture, but Mike's there. That's Nancy. That's me. This is our director of operations in our office. Marlene that really runs the company. So if we look at, single origin, we explain that. Are we organic? No. Why? Go to Kalimantan. There's no such thing as organic. It's all rainforest. So, you have to have a definition of what organic is. And then the other question is, if it's international, are you, as the French call, biologique, organique, or are you American organic? And there are different standards. We are not going to spend $150,000 to $200,000 to get the region classified as organic. Okay? We're not Haagen-Dazs. And they won't do it. Okay. Let me see. Let's move back to what we were talking about. We don't have ice cream here today because of the logistical problem. We could have passed out cups. So here's our 4 chocolates. So then you go to Ghana and you have a definition. I have a very scientific definition of this, and it was created, by the way, by our director of sales. He calls, you can see what it says, full-bodied, very fudge-like. It's like a fudge sickle on steroids. That's the scientific definition. And so you can go and look at all of our organoleptic flavor profiles here. We have people buying our 4-ounce cups, taking them all home, inviting friends over, and they do an ice cream tasting. Okay. And contrary to believe it or not, in order for humans, Homo sapiens, to exist, we have to have some consumption of fat. The question is how much. The concept of less is more applies to the second area that I'm going to talk about. So the single origin makes us totally different. I want a different flavor. What's the other flavor you have? They're all vanilla with a slight little change in the organoleptic flavor profile. Same thing with chocolate. Okay, the production methods, what defines us. We are 14 to 20% called overrun. Overrun is air. You make whipped cream, right? You buy it as a liquid, and then you whip it up. And the more you whip it up, what happens? It gets stiffer and it builds. That's air, induction of air going into the whipped cream. And guess what? The stiffer it becomes, the less it melts. Because of the oxygen. Same thing's true for ice cream. You take it, put it in a blast freezer after you've made your blend. It's a very quick process. 40 below zero, whatever, 60 below zero. In a commercial ice cream plant. And you get ice cream. How many people have made ice cream here? Okay, if you're making ice cream and you're doing it by hand, you cannot get more than 14 to 15% oxygen. It's impossible. So then you turn on the little switch, and maybe you can get it up to 18 to 20%. What's great about homemade ice cream? The density of it. Then you're putting strawberries in or whatever flavoring you are. Guess what? The density, because it's so rich, the lower amount of oxygen carries the flavor, depending on how much strawberries you put in or whatever you do. That's our process. So we're 14 to 20%. If you take a look at Breyers, you want to know why it's $2.99 a gallon? Because it's 95% air. I'm not going to get into some of the other competition, but there's a reason why the price points are what they are, besides market-driven indices, right? So what happens is, I was a Haagen-Dazs guy. You come to my house and you open the freezer, there'd be like 5 different pints of Haagen. I just kept bringing this stuff home. I'm the kind of guy who would sit there, 5 bites after dinner in a pint, put it back in the refrigerator. My wife would say, "What are you doing bringing this ice cream home?" Because she can't do that. She keeps eating it, which is what most of us do. Which if you're worried about fat, ice cream's bad. No, ice cream is not bad. You're bad because you eat too much. Okay, excuse me. You drink wine. You drink wine. You know what can happen if you drink too much wine, right? Hello, is there something wrong with drinking wine? Not in my opinion. Okay, so what was I doing? Putting it back. My wife, don't bring it out here. My daughter, at the time, she's now 16 years old. At the time, this is 4 years ago, would sit there and boom, boom, boom. And I go, "Honey, 5 more bites." Then she'd go to the kitchen, pull out a tablespoon, come back and have her 5 more bites. I say, "That's it." Because they don't have the discipline. Remember, we are weaned on sugar as children. We're not weaned on lemon. even though some of us, like kids, will do a little lemon. There's another reason why they do that. But if you look at cereals and foods and most of the stuff that's out there, it's sugar. And that's because why? It's appealing. So, another process. Our sugar content is a little lower, but pretty much the same. You need 17, 19, 21 grams of sugar per serving. Guess what? If you're at 50 or 60 or 90% error, God, this is so light. I can eat more of this. But the caloric intake is 290 calories. We're like 240. So what do? You eat 20 bites. With us, because of the density, and because of another proponent, you eat about a third to 50% less of our ice cream. It's like flourless chocolate cake when it came out at the Parkway Grill or at the Royal Chop House, and it cost you like $15 for like 4 ounces. What did you used to get? 10 ounces of a like an angel food cake. We don't do that anymore. Well, some of us do. So less is more. The other concept in our production is we use 2 to 3 times the amount of real vanilla, single origin, or real chocolate than any producer out there. Most of them are 2 to 4% vanilla. And guess what it can be? The law says 2% minimum, federal law, 2% minimum vanilla bean and or vanilla extract up to 30% alcohol and or vanillin. That's what's called artificial vanilla. What do you think is in the 299 gallons? Or 499 gallons? Do you think it's real vanilla?
It's not even a half gallon anymore.
Whatever it is, well, that's another concept.
Yeah, exactly.
So those three components, the density, the air, the how we make it's all natural. Every single product, 7 that we use, are all natural. The compilation of the amount of real vanilla and real cacao. And the third component, we looked at the market, we look at what we do, and the fact of the matter is, taste vanilla and chocolate for the first time. That's what our byline is on our advertising. Because you know what? Here we go. 1979 in America, 2 companies dominated 90% of the coffee business. You know where they were?
Folgers.
And Hills Brothers. So U-Band fell under this and this over that. What did it taste like? This is my dad's coffee. He would drink 12 to 14 cups of coffee. In 1980, Starbucks was born. How many people go to Starbucks? Or Pete's? Or whoever? Or here? The flavor profile of coffee changed in America. Because of what? Guatemala versus Kona. Starbucks does single origin and concept. It is the wave of the future. The problem that we have is marketing our product, getting it out there, telling our story, and competing with people because you think all ice cream is the same. It isn't. Just like all wine isn't the same. So the dogma is that that's what we're trying to do, overcome, build our brand. We're doing it. We're not meant for a family of 5 on a $50,000 budget. We're $6.99 pint. We come down to $5.99. We got our 4-ounce cups at $2.50 to $2. And we have now our world tour to sell our concept. 1 each of the vanillas, 1 each of the chocolates. So anyway, we are at Bristol Farms, Gelson's, Selective Albertsons and Bonds. You can find us in a lot of independents in the area. And I'd love to come back and actually prove to you the single origin concept of what we do. Questions? Is that where we're at now?
That was an excellent presentation. I love the passion and the sort of sommelier, wine aficionado, food chemist, food lover perspective on rebuilding the brand Choctál. I think that's really interesting. I think it's very inspiring to hear that from a consumer perspective, because I'm totally stoked to try your products now. I mean, like, mouth-watering, like, who wants ice cream for breakfast, right? But also from the business side, but also from the business side, which is for people that are looking to rebrand the company. I'm sure there's a lot that we can learn from your experience. So we're going to open up to Q&A now. If you have a question, raise your hand. John will walk around with the mic. If you'd like to share a story, please save it for offline. Bob, will you be hanging out with us a little bit afterwards? Sure. Cool. So he can meet you. You guys can share flavor stories and all that good stuff. But again, if you have a question, John will help get that answered for you.
Okay, thanks for a great presentation. For a whole handful of reasons, each of them very positive, vegan ice creams are gaining in popularity. Have you got your eye on that trend?
Yes, we have. But the bottom line is this: we're ice cream. And again, we're a specialist in chocolate and vanilla. I can tell you right now, can I make a viognier? Yes. Can I make a Chardonnay? Yes. Do I want to? No. How about Pinot, the most difficult wine to make in the world? Yes. My ego says yes. My ability says no. And my money says no. I think it's really important to be focused and specific on what you do. Our marketing, our design of packaging, our design of packaging is very specific. We don't want complicated labels. We want the real deal. We want to imply rainforest. We want to imply natural.
You can do that.
And that's what we're doing. But with vegan, you're talking a whole different ballgame. How do you make ice cream, vegan? I'm sorry, I don't know any vegan cows.
Coconut.
We can do coconut milk. We can do other things. Guess what? That price is going to go up to here. And so this concept, once again, we didn't create this concept. We're amplifying it and trying to improve on it, and people know it. So we weren't going to create a counterculture product. Ice cream is very expensive to make. It's very expensive to maintain. It's the most expensive food product, cost-wise, in the store. The freezers, shipping it. Think about it. It's got to be 20 below zero. This isn't 10 below zero stuff. It changes the composition. It's inherently a very expensive proposition. So maybe when we do our first $20 million, then we'll create a vegan ice cream. But I mean, we haven't looked at it. Yes.
Back here.
Okay, so I remember when Mark first launched Choctál, going back about 10 years ago, and what you've done is brilliant in terms of the marketing differentiation. What I'm most interested in is how you work with the retailers in terms of working out the demographics for which stores are going to be most appropriate, because that's the secret, I see, in terms of the distribution, getting it into the right end customer areas.
So when we launched the product, the original business plan was a national business plan. And all of a sudden, I got cold feet. I have built wine brands internationally my whole life. And I had no experience at all, zero, with the food end of the business. And as I learned a little bit more about the food end of the business, and I was warned about it, I found out, wow, this is not a wine business, because wine is regulated. And I used to complain about that. Guess what? This is shooting from the hip. The problem on the retail level, the retailers control the business. Think about your house, break it down into cubic inches, and what you put in those cubic inches if you were selling a product in those cubic inches. They know exactly what the profit is on the sales of Nabisco graham crackers versus Ritz. Do you see any empty shelves in the store when you walk in there? Not after 8 a.m. in the morning, right? The problem is upstart brand. Why should I buy your product? Well, because we've got the greatest product, we're single origin, we got this following started with the consumer, it's a great deal. Do you think Vaughn's Market cares about that? Maybe a little bit, because they got an organic section now, and they're trying to pull people from Whole Foods. They're trying to bring people from those markets that less is more in quantity and more in quality. And that's where we fall in. So they're interested in it. But at the end of the day, are they going to move 4 SKUs out of Haagen-Dazs? Or 4 SKUs out of Ben & Jerry's when they know what those sales are? So guess what we have to do? We have to guarantee those sales. Shelf space, slotting, I'm not going to go into detail, but I can tell you one account last year, I told them thank you very much, wanted $75,000 to go into 240 stores per SKU. Do you know how much ice cream they have to sell? It ain't going to happen. So it's brutal. So how do we work? We love independence. The national program, we said, forget it. Let's do the hub, spoke, and wheel. And we started right here in Pasadena, and we built it outside, went to Northern California, then we went to Arizona with AJ's. We targeted the demographic of a consumer that are foodies, that are wine consumers, that get what goes into their mouth and care. And we'll pay more for it. So that's the demographic, and then we support that. If you see all of a sudden the scan backs at $1, then we support that. It's our money that goes into that. So that's, I hope that answered your question.
Two more questions right here.
Hi. I saw as you were going through the slides a little bit that you are looking at product extensions.
Yeah.
You mentioned coffee a lot.
Yeah.
I guess that's
Okay, I'll tell you why. So when we do, I've done 250, 300 demos, and so have my partners. And we love doing that. You'll see me at Gelson's, or you'll see, because we get one-on-one with you guys, and we actually go through this thing. You know the typical demo person? I'm 68 years old, so don't think this is a slight on age. But typically it's a 70-year-old lady standing behind a desk, looking around, not doing anything, walks by, and maybe she says, "Would you like to try some ice cream today?" That's not what we do. You walk by, and the first thing you see is this food freezer container. And in that container, 4 of the vanillas, and I say, "Would you like to try something you've never had before unless you make it yourself?" And they go, "Well, what's that?" And I said, "It's ice cream." "I'm lactose intolerant." I said, "Thank you very much. I'm so sorry you can't enjoy it." But 9 out of 10 times, yes, I would like to try. "Oh, let me try a vanilla." "Sorry, you have to try them all." We're selling a concept. We're not selling ice cream. We're selling a lifestyle. That's the branding point today. It's about lifestyle. It's not go to the Parkway Grill or go to a Royal Chop House. Ask for a bowl of ice cream. You get 7 ounces of ice cream. Not anymore. You know what you get? You get a plate that says Vanilla Flight, Choctál. And it has little dimples in the plate. And each dimple is defined Indonesian, Papua New Guinea, if you want the vanilla, or you do the chocolate. Because it's an experience. It's something no one else is doing. It's like a wine flight. Okay, so we have had, I don't know how many people come up and say, "God, you guys need to do a coffee because your chocolate is unbelievable." And there is a relationship to coffee. The amount of tannins, the richness, the flavor profile in chocolate, that wide. The flavor profile in red wine, that wide. The flavor profile in coffee, that wide. Vanilla, Chardonnay, white wines. So people that want and like chocolate, they have a tendency to be into coffee. Could we do coffee, and does the single origin lend itself? Yes. It's about money. By the way, we're looking for a second tranche of investors for our company. Because we can't go to Publix in Florida, we can't go to SEG, out of Atlanta, we can't go to other people without raising the productions of what we do.